You see, because the camera's moving, he's swaying to the camera. But I command you to stop moving. All right, there we go. Hey, look, AAA East Central, last week, Marita Williams, we were talking all about Alaska.
Yeah.
And being that you've been there,
It's awesome.
Tell me about it.
It's incredible. It really is. It's just so different than anything you see here. I mean, to see the glaciers and the wilderness, it's
beautiful.
It's just beautiful. It really is. And if you're a hunter or fisher, I mean, that's a must go.
It's a must place to be. Now, also a must place to be, Friday night under the lights. You have told me moments ago, Armstrong is going to be playing a big football game tonight against Dr. Ray Wisniewski's favorite team, Penn Trafford. How big is that game?
Well, it's Penn Trafford focused on D and led by their defense against Zane Dudek. 2,200 yards and 28 touchdowns.
Woo.
What is this, October 14th?
Yep. Pretty
How
impressive.
about that, huh? 2,200 yards
3
and
weeks
28
left in the
touchdowns.
season. That's impressive.
How many great Whitfield players never got 28 touchdowns in their career? And he's got it in a season. So that's going to be tested. It's going to be good. They had a tough test against Franklin Regional where Franklin Regional slowed them down. Let's see what Penn does tonight.
All right. Also, you have got TJ, Coach Chirpak, and Bell Vernon.
Yeah, the Leopards kind of own TJ a little bit right now, and they're both undefeated. Last time it was a comeback win for Bell Vernon, so want to see what happens here. Chirp always has his team ready, and he's going to be telling them about those previous matchups, and that should be a fun one tonight. Shorts will be on the field.
Listen, I don't know who's writing these scripts, but I really do like 2016, but it just made me think, because I've been promoting all week Central Valley Beaver Falls, about you and I many years ago when Coach Mark Lyons was then coaching Monaca, where he played, now the Central Valley coach, and they were having that epic battle against then Rochester, who, by the way, the Rams are undefeated this year. Congratulations to Coach Gene Matsuk. Gene Matsuk's brother Dan was on the other side of the football field that night, coaching the Battle of the Bridge for Rochester. Central Valley has really turned it up this season, and they have really, I think, made a lot of doubters believe that they are real in the Beaver Valley Conference. But tonight, they will have their hands full against Ryan Matsuk, the son of Dan, who has done a tremendous job at Beaver Falls. And Malik Shepard has been playing great since coming back after that foot ankle injury. They're high octane. This kid plays wide out and he plays quarterback. They've got a big offensive line. So the Central Valley football team is going to be tested tonight.
Yeah, they are, but I like Central. I like the talent. You kind of knew when Monaca and Center got together and formed a school that it would work. Much like if Rochester and New Brighton got together, that it would work. You know what I mean? There's just so much talent in that area. And now they're getting out and exploding onto the scene. Beaver Falls will have their hands full. I like Central. I just think they have a little bit more depth in this game, but it should be a good one. It's changed a bit, but it's still great football in Beaver County.
I said to Jim Equals last night, who's a correspondent with the Times, we're at the Brighton Hot Dog Shop, we all miss the Mid-Athletic Conference. And yes, there is football other than Beaver County. We know that. I think so. But anyway, I think this Beaver Valley Conference is actually better because you've got Aliquippa in there, you've got Beaver Falls in there, you've got Central Valley in there. So that really has, I think, even made what used to be the MAC better.
Yeah, and I want to see tonight how the Quips respond. I mean, how often has Mike Smianek gotten his rear end kicked? I mean, not often.
One time that I can remember, and that was against Clairton. What happened in that game?
Oh, Clairton's good.
Really?
And I think the rain played a factor. It's a shame it rained. It's a shame. I mean, that's a dome game. But Lamont Wade, he may be one of the best of all time to play in Western Pennsylvania.
Wait a minute. Stop tape. What did you just say?
He may be one of the best of all time.
I just got chills. Really, Jeff?
He may be better than Boyd at his own school. This kid is ridiculous, what he can do, and he showed it against Aliquippa. I mean, look what he did to Aliquippa, and they knew he was going to run the ball. I mean, that's putting him in a very elite company. And some would say that Zane Dudek's a better tailback than Lamont because of the competition. But, man, Lamont Wade is a special talent. That's why you see all these huge schools going for him.
Listen, I have been around him for 20 years. I have a lot of respect for Jeff Hathorn, and that is high praise. But speaking, one more thing about high school, then we'll move on. Darius Weiss, who is the quarterback at Beaver, who put 35 points up on the board against Central Valley, he's a pretty special talent, too.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good players. It's not the depth that we used to see. When we were kids,
Right.
there was much more depth and more scholarship athletes. But there are still stars in this area. Lamont's one of them, Dudek's one of them, and there are some other guys. Paris Ford's another one. And there are some guys that are going to be impact players at the college level.
Wow, best of all time. That's a
One of the best, not the best. One of the best.
Okay, I stand corrected. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll talk Pitt and Virginia. And Tyler Boyd isn't there, but Nate Peterman is. And he's showing everyone in the ACC, especially as we move forward in this game against Virginia, 12:30 on 93.7 The Fan, that he can play that position.
This will be the challenge for Peterman because this is going to be the thinking man's game. It's a 3-4 Virginia defense. They run a lot of stunts, a lot of games. It's Dick LeBeau-esque, if you will, not quite to that extent, but it's not something you see often in college. So how is Peterman going to recognize what he's seeing at the line of scrimmage? That's going to be big in this game. I like the matchup of them against, even though it's a spread offense for Virginia, I think defensively it's a good matchup for Pitt. What do they do offensively? How well do they recognize? How do they pick up the blitzers coming from different angles? That's what I want to see. I do think it's a good matchup, though, for the Panthers.
All right, being a guest with your Pratte pack, we have this for you, a little trinket. But it's definitely worth it. The last Krispy Kreme. All right? Well, I think it's a glaze. Let me look here.
Just one in there?
Yeah, just one. But it's for you. Anyway, listen. And Sheets K-Cup Coffee, where you can find Krispy Kreme donuts as well at your neighborhood Sheets convenience store. And you might be wanting to stock up this Sunday by stopping off at Coons Market, where we'll be with Black and Gold Sunday, to get ready for the Steelers game against Miami, that great cafe. 600 of your favorite beers, craft beers, micro beers. And more importantly, it's time to huddle up because the Steelers will be at South Beach against an AFC Eastern opponent who is struggling, Ryan Tannehill, your quarterback. Last time I checked, they're about a 6.5-point favorite. They should win this football game.
You would think, although 1-4 San Diego goes into the world champs last night and wins decidedly, really.
21-13.
And they had their starting quarterback back. I know at one point it was 21-3, and Denver got some late points. So the Steelers have to be mindful. The Steelers are not good on the road against bad teams. And that's just
Forever
a
it's
fact.
been that way.
That's just a fact. It's hard to win in the NFL, and a lot of teams deal with things like this. Maybe not New England, but a lot of other teams. So the Steelers have to come with that game. And, no Cam Hayward, no Marcus Gilbert. Sammy Coates is questionable. No Marcus Wheaton. So there are injuries to consider. So you're going to have Chris Hubbard again on that right side. You have Ndamukong Suh, who can create havoc in the middle of that line. I mean, there is potential for issues for the Steelers in this game. Miami's shot themselves in the foot a lot. Turnovers, their offense is just not in sync at all. So you'd like to think that defensive matchup is good. Well, will they get offensively? We'll find out. We'll find out what they do with AB. I wonder if Coates is out, who steps up? Is it Darius Hayward-Bay? Is it Eli Rogers, who will return from injury? Who makes his mark if Antonio Brown is, doubled all over the field?
All right, last thing with Jeff Hathorn, sports director of News Radio 1020, KDK at 93.7 The Fan. Major League Baseball, Clayton Kershaw comes in relief, first time in 7 years. Dodgers advance. They beat the Washington Nationals. And tonight, the American League Championship Series begins. Terry Francona of New Brighton. What an amazing job with Cleveland taking on Toronto at Progressive Field. But first, the LA Dodgers.
That was, first of all, it was a big comeback for them. Scherzer was pitching really well, and they're able to get those 3 runs, hold on for a 4-3. Clayton Kershaw, what do you say about a guy on one-day rest? I think they watched what Bumgarner did a couple of years ago, and they think, and I'm sure there's a part of that mentality, well, if Bumgarner can do it, I can do it. But how does that set up that rotation? I don't see the Cubs having any faults. None. So I don't know how the Dodgers win that series. If they win a game, that might be lucky.
Listen, we all know what he did on the basketball court, and I'm not saying he's the sole reason why, but you got to think Magic Johnson, just being around him, you want to win. And ever since he's kind of plugged in business-wise with the Dodgers, they're winning baseball games.
Well, Dave Roberts has done a nice job managing them this year. I think a lot of, there's been so much on Madden for winning over 100 games. There's some for Dusty Baker for what he's done, but I put a lot on Dave Roberts. They've had tons of injuries, and they won the West. They're a good baseball team. It would be a shocker to me if they were to move on to the World Series, but I think he's a guy that should be get more consideration for Manager of the Year than he'll probably get.
All those Pirates now living in Canada, ladies and gentlemen, the Toronto Blue Jays, and there's a ton of ex-Pirates on that team. I'm happy for them, but I got to tell you, I'm all about Terry Francona and Cleveland.
Yeah, you know what? If Terry gets this done, if he wins with the Indians, with the injuries they've had to their rotation, then it might be a better job than what he did in Boston, which is saying something. I mean, Francona, you watch how players react to him. And that's when you know the guy is a special manager. Or listen to what former players say about him. Even the ones that get traded or cut, they never have a bad thing to say. They play hard for this guy. That's what the Indians are doing. They're depleted. They're going to be the underdogs in this series. We'll see if they've got enough left. Maybe there's some magic still from the Cavaliers run. Imagine if Cleveland were to hold the two major sports championships, the last two, after all those years of frustration. I mean, they are not going to win a football one, but they could have baseball and basketball in the same year, which is just, I mean, well, look at look at some of the other things going on in the world. Maybe it's another sign.
Listen, real quick.
Take that bunker.
And I'm going to let you go real quick. Why didn't Tiger Woods, speaking of bunkers, why didn't he come back? I was all excited about that.
You know why? In my opinion, because he's afraid he'd shoot 85. That's why. At the
Safeway tournament, where he thought that would be the best opportunity for him to maybe compete.
But he goes out there, he works a little bit, and I think he's like, uh-oh.
Where's his game at now?
Well, and that's the thing. He said, I'm not ready to compete at that level, and that's fine, but you're not competing against those guys. So what it is, it's him self-evaluating and saying, you know what? I'm not that good right now. Like, I could go out there and get embarrassed. It's not like being embarrassed because the guy defending you. It's just you against the course, and he doesn't have it there. And he's got a lot of pride still. And it's a shame because I'm sure there are a ton of people that bought tickets for it, and then he doesn't show.
I had all these promos done. I had to get rid of him because he wasn't going to be there. But I do hope he comes back next year. Back to baseball, and we're done. Theo Epstein, now in Chicago. He and Terry, of course, used to be in Boston, and you got Terry in Cleveland. I think it just goes to show how much they did help each other in Boston. And as far as front office, Theo Epstein is in the same category, in my opinion, as his manager in Chicago, Joe Madden, arguably maybe the best in the game.
Theo's good. He made some really good trades, and he set up this organization. Now, he's also been with two organizations that have deep pockets. So as good as he's been, if you're making comparisons, I think you have to look at some of the smaller, and I'm being biased here, but you have to look at what Huntington has done and what they did in Kansas City and think, wow, that's even more amazing to me than what Theo did. Theo made some good trades, and he brought a winning culture, and Madden's a really good manager. But when you have money, I think that, like, Brian Cashman's had a job for how long? I don't even know if he's in a top 25 of Major League general managers, but he has money. So when they make mistakes, they can make up for it. You know, if Jason Hayward signs with the Pirates for that same contract and hits $230, Huntington's fired. I mean, he is ridiculed and gone because of that horrible signing they made. But with the Cubs, they have so much other talent, it's not even noticed.
Well, let me leave you with this. Just remember what Leland did in '97 with Florida. Had all that talent. It takes a special person to be able to manage all of those stars and win. So I think it's just as hard when you have so much talent. Look at all those great Yankee teams.
Sure. And I'm not disrespecting Madden. I don't like Madden, excuse me, because of what he said about Jung Ho Kang. To make fun of a player who had a serious injury is bogus.
I think he'd take that back.
I know he's kind of been given an opportunity to, and he never has. So I will never root for Joe Madden. I don't mind the Cubs, their organization, their frustrated fans. I think they have a heck of a team. Bryant and Rizzo, I think, are not only great players but great humans. So good for them. I wish they could win with a different manager.
No matter what you think, just think Harry Carey. As long as you've got Harry Carey, you can overcome anything. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Hathorn.
Speaking of Budweiser, I'm out of here.
You deserve one. So do I.